Welcome back to Paz Pod. Phil, how you doing?
Good, mate. Yeah, it's been a good week.
Plenty
of positives.
Quiet week.
Quiet week, but training was good. Just been a bit more work to do at work. So I feel like I've actually done something this week.
Training was good. I actually trained yesterday. We are going to change up training a little bit though, aren't we?
Yeah, so from now on until sort of early to mid-November, I think Tuesdays are going to become more something other than rugby in the most part. So football, rounders, anything really, just to keep us going, do something different, try some different skills. And then Thursday night will be rugby and I'll be focusing on set skills and whatnot. So just to change it up, obviously training twice a week doing rugby is good when you've got a game on the weekend. I think without the games on the weekend, it can become quite monotonous and a bit dull. So we're going to change it up a bit, keep it entertaining, try some different sports, some different games, and see how we get on with that for a few weeks.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to mix it up. I think some people are getting, although people like touch, I think even some people are getting bored of touch now because it's it's every Tuesday and Thursday. You obviously had your golfing week the other week, the golfing day, but also we're going to be raising money for Maggie's and the 2022 fund a different way now, aren't we? So do you want to talk about the Limey Walk?
Yeah, so during summer, some of you might have seen on George's Instagram that he was doing some early mornings and walking a long way in preparation to do the Limey Walk, I think. He's done it before. I think it's 65 kilometres or thereabouts, and you normally try and complete it within 24 hours. I think George has done it before in something around 18, 19. We're going to try and do it in under 16. So there's a group of us doing it. So far, I think there's about 5 of us doing it, and we're just looking to raise money for both Maggie's and for the 2022 fund. So if you can support, that'd be great. We're going to start running some Instagram stuff for it. I would have thought. I think a few of us might need to go and practice walking in a straight line for a bit. And then then it's on the 31st, so it's Halloween. We're going to walk it, which is, to be fair, we're in the middle of nowhere doing it, aren't we? So it's down the middle of Derbyshire. There's not going to be no one jumping out in masks and stuff there. But
I'm actually on a end away in Derbyshire, so I wouldn't say there's no one jumping out. Are you going to be dressed up in Halloween costumes?
No.
I think if we reach a certain amount, it should be.
If we're at £1,000 before, yeah, I'll quite happily wear a mask.
Sound. That might not. Yeah. We'll say £1,000 for that. So that'd be good. So we'll obviously post the fundraising link, GoFundMe, I think it is, on the Instagram and the Facebook and all over that, and you'll probably hear it mentioned a few times in the next few weeks. For those who haven't seen this podcast before, normally halfway through the pod, Phil gets his package out for everyone. Don't be too concerned. It is just some quick fire questions, but we realised that actually, especially myself, listeners may not know that much about us. So we've got some quick fire questions for each other. So do you want to go first, or do you want me to ask your questions first?
I'll ask you first.
Okay.
I've had to Google questions. So I think my ones are getting a bit repetitive, so I'm going to start changing my ones up now during the episode. So I Googled quickfire questions and got a list of 300. And I just picked out a few.
Yeah, not 300, please.
Yeah, I know I'm going to have 300. So we'll start. Yeah. I think you've seen this before, Tom, so you know what you're doing.
I think so.
Red or green?
Red.
Oldest memory?
Rugby or anything?
Anything.
Actually, my sister disputes that I remember this because people supposedly should remember things from when they were like less than 2 years old. But throwing my shoe into Poole Harbour when I was a really young kid, and the lifeguards getting it back for me, lifeboat getting it back. Quite a good memory.
Obviously.
Mm.
That was Pool Harbour, was it?
Pool.
Yeah, it sounded like Poo Harbour.
Poo Harbour. It is quite poo.
That was a
Full of poo
euphemism.
now.
If you could be an animal, what animal would you be and why?
I don't know. I think I'd be a hippopotamus because they don't actually swim; they just float everywhere, which is kind of what I do, even in a bath. And they're actually quite dangerous and fast, but I think mainly downhill. I think
With a good wind.
With the wind, yeah. I actually, this is disgusting. I learned there's a parasite that lives inside a hippopotamus bottom, and they can't get it out. That was an interesting fact for you. That might not make it.
Where would you go if you were invisible? Or what would you do?
PC answers. I'll probably be a invisible man in kind of maybe listening to kind of people like Tyson Fury's or Anthony Joshua's kind of pre-fight chats, and maybe into some rugby stadiums and football stadiums, just to see how the pros really psych themselves up for stuff.
Good answer.
Worst
housemate?
Worst housemate. He won't listen to this. The bloke never washed up anything, and he washed his chicken in the sink, and just like splashed it around like he was at some water park, pulled it up on it, and then all he did was wipe it down with a tissue. So he was a knob.
Names?
Shiv.
Describe yourself in 3 words.
Fat, fit, and funny.
Favourite ever rugby player?
Lawrence Delalio.
And Jonty or Jim?
Jim.
Nice.
All day.
I've concluded my questions.
Thank you for that. I quite enjoyed that. Mine have stayed relatively rugby,
Okay.
but also not rugby. So first one, red or green?
Red.
Playing or coaching?
Playing.
Playing. George or dog?
George.
Chocolate or vanilla or ice cream?
Vanilla.
Vanilla. Favourite takeaway?
Indian.
Indian. What do you get from the Indian?
So I'm big into my Danzaks at the moment.
Oh.
Yeah. No rice. Hold the rice. Got that home, and I wouldn't eat it anyway.
No.
Keeming on, and about 8 poppadoms.
8 poppadoms. That's quite a gift, actually. Some lime pickle for the poppadoms, maybe.
Load of lime pickle.
Loads of lime pickle. Favourite pub on pub golf route?
On the club's pub golf route.
Pub golf, yeah.
Probably say the Nav.
The Nav. See,
Yeah.
I always like the old trip because that's where we get our singing voices out. Favourite podcast guest so far?
Probably Theo, but he's no relation.
No relation to Theo. Penultimate is favourite pack member at Pabs at the minute.
It's a close one. Probably Josh Hall.
Josh Hall, yeah. And obviously Johnny or Jim.
I'm going to go with Jonty, just on some, just to wind Jim up.
It is quite nice winding Jim up. But I mean, it's also nice winding Johnny up. So I guess we have to be fair on this podcast. We're not biased. We just generally prefer Jim. So that's all my questions are concluded. I wonder if there's more questions people want to ask us. So maybe we should allow people to ask us questions as opposed to our guests.
Yeah, that would save us doing something for the intro as well, wouldn't it?
It would make it so much easier for us. because sometimes against people's opinions, we are actually quite busy people. Play golf all the time, and I don't just drink and edit podcasts. So today we spoke to Ez. Good lad.
Yeah, brilliant, absolutely awesome. We wanted to get him on a couple of weeks ago. He couldn't make it, so we made sure we got him on. He's done a lot for rugby in Nottinghamshire, both at the younger age group, the playing age group, and also the vets age group. So age group, the vets. So yeah, he's been a bit of a talisman of Nottinghamshire rugby without really anyone maybe appreciating that.
Yeah, he's one of them faces that I think a majority of people would at least know. But yeah, probably one of the unsung heroes of Nottinghamshire rugby. Some moments in the podcast will blow some people away. Some absolute clangers are dropped.
Clang!
Straight away. To be fair, I thought about finishing the podcast when someone was mentioned. Just going, well, that can't get any better. But we'll let people listen to Ez, and then we'll catch up in a bit. Here we are with Eric Cranmer. Ez, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
Good. So, for those who don't know Ez, he's been involved heavily with Pavs and currently with Ollerton. Over the past few years, he's become one of those friendly faces around Nottinghamshire with people that know him, who played against him, with him, and for him as well in the vets. Ez, how's it going at Ollerton at the minute?
Yeah, it's not doing bad. Dodgy situation with the COVID, but we're just keeping the lads interested. Training's quite good. We're getting good numbers, and we've had a couple of touch tournaments at Worksop the last couple of weeks, so it's keeping them involved.
Good. How'd you get on at the touch tournaments?
All right, we won a few, lost a couple, so it worked all right.
Nice. So people that have kind of new to Paviers may not have met you through a Paviers kind of format. So do you want to let people know what you were involved in at Paviers and how long you were with the club?
Yeah, I was. My son started playing at about 6-year-old, so under sevens. Took him along. I knew Wardy, Mark Hayden, Warren Stocksbridge. So I took him along, and he did all right there, and I just carried on with him. And I started coaching, I think, a year or two after. And I stayed all the way through that age group till Colts. We're a really successful side. I think we won the 3 Counties Cup at sevens, and we just missed out on the cup in a couple of previous years.
That's because Phil was saying before you came onto the call that he coached with you.
Yeah, that's right.
Is he easy to get on with in a coaching format, or?
Yeah, he's sound cracking bloke. Yeah, all the lads respected him, and we had a good time.
Yeah, it was good. We had a good season that year. Really good season that year. Yeah.
But it's all changed now. He doesn't get much respect from the lads anymore.
No respect, but at least I can hand out some punishment myself. Can't do that with the Colts.
Then from then you moved on to Ollerton. What was the reason for the move, if you don't mind?
What, coaching or playing or?
Playing as well, wasn't it, I guess?
Yeah, well, what happened was I've always played for, well, when I left school, I started working in the coal mines, and then I played rugby for Ollerton, and I played rugby for the colliery side also. And I got to about 27-ish, joined Mansfield for a few years. I had a really good time there. Met some good mates, good time on and off the field. Got to about 35. This is on the playing side, that is. I had a couple of injuries, shoulder and knee, a couple of operations. As I was recovering, I went to watch Ollerton and joined back to Ollerton. Them days, it used to take 90 days or 100 days to change clubs. So while I was recovering, but nowadays it's only a week, I think, or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
it's about as quick as you can get the paperwork through, isn't it, nowadays?
Yeah, I think it is. It's not long at all. But then it was quite a long time. And then I played for Alton ever since, really. But we didn't have a junior section, so I knew a couple of lads at Paviers, so I just took my son along. I mean, my daughters played as well for Paviers. They had successful, both played for Midlands, and had a cracking time.
Nice. So you stayed at Ollerton because you didn't want to have to wait the 100 days to move club again. Is that what it was?
Well, I had a few games for the Horns with Bob Ratcliffe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the third team, I had a couple of games for them. We had a good laugh there. Yeah. We played a couple of touring sides that come over. I can remember that.
Yeah, I remember that.
When they all stripped off in the clubhouse.
That happens more often than not, yeah. Unfortunately. It is what it is. So you just going on to Ollerton kind of current day.
Yeah.
You did say there's obviously this malarkey, I guess, of COVID.
Yeah.
To keep boys interested. What is the current situation looking like for Ollerton? Because see, it's a bit of a different setup to Pabs, isn't it?
Yeah, it's we've got 2 pitches now and floodlights, so and we have a pavilion, changing rooms and that. So it's not too bad that way. Lads come already changed, so we'll train, and luckily we've got a chuckle bus, so the lads wear the masks and we can crack on to. Well, we've been to workshop the last 2 weeks and had a great time. And have a few beers afterwards.
The fun bus, yeah, the fun bus is quite famous.
Yeah,
around
we've had some great times on that.
Around the NLD, it's known quite far and wide. We won't go too much into detail, but what is your favourite moment on the fun bus so far?
Oh, I've had plenty, mate. We took it once. We did a Windermere triathlon. There was about 10 of us on a charity weekend.
We did
fun, it actually. It was for Notts Links Air Ambulance, so we raised quite a lot of money, and that was got a good hand as one of the hardest and best weekends we've had. We had to be in the water for 8 o'clock in the morning. Foolishly, we travelled down on the Friday night, and we thought we'll just have a couple of beers. And yeah, we ended up having a skinful, and about 4 o'clock we rolled in to camped in on the bus, and we had to be in the water swimming for 8 o'clock. Swimming a mile and back, and luckily we managed it. And we only had one. There was about 10 of us. We had one canoe safety vessel, so a couple of us were hanging on the canoe for dear life as my nephew was paddling along, and luckily we made it there and back just before the boat started going across. And then we had to do the cycle, which was 50 mile up Notts Pass, and a mate of mine, Mark Evans, was with us. He was a bit excited, and he took the wrong turn off. That was an extra 20 miles we had to do. We followed it. So that was a nightmare, and we had a driver who got lost in it. That was on the chuckle bus, and how steep it is, how it made it up and down, it's beyond me, because the brakes weren't great. and then we finished off doing Scarfell Pike, and we managed to get it done, God knows how, but only just. And it was that's got to be one of the best times on the chuckle bus.
I've managed to do a few rugby games hungover. Not sure I could manage a triathlon very sober.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Phil, but that doesn't sound like something I want to do.
Oh, we never drowned.
It might put me in a better frame of mind. Like, to be fair, you wouldn't catch me doing many triathlons stone cold sober, so maybe a bit of Dutch courage. But yeah, no, I've not had. I've played a game. I remember my 18th. I had it at Moderns Rugby Club. Obviously, I grew up in West Ridgeford and had pretty much my entire school year, plus a load of rugby mates at Moderns on a Friday night. And then the Saturday we were playing Leeds Academy. This was when I was like, obviously in the Nottingham Academy, and there would have been 4 of us, I think, and 2 of us became professional rugby players. I'll let you work out who that was. And we rocked up to this game the next day, and all 4 of us stunk. Like we've been up to 4 in the morning. I'd been throwing up all morning, and rocked up to this academy game, and I had an absolute screamer for the first 30 minutes, and then I made a line break and pulled my hamstring. Dehydrated. And then I think there was some pulled muscles from the other party goers as well. But yeah, it was probably my only experience of being hungover and playing.
I'm always amazed how you're very good at not accidentally slipping a name when you tell these stories, Philip. I'm on it.
It's hard. I have to think about it quite.
Yeah, I can hear you thinking about it as well. I was told last season, I won't say who said to me, but he came up to me and he was like, right, you always turn up hungover, you always stink of booze. I stink anyway. But you always stink of booze. You always hungover. Like next week, come off sober, and you'll be able to play longer. You'll be able to play better, and all this. Turned out, hadn't had a drink. I'd never played such bad rugby in my life. And he went, drink next Friday. Did it? Fine. It's far easier. It's far easier. So, as you mentioned, obviously you were at Ollerton and you were at Mansfield. How long were you at Mansfield for?
About 27-ish to 35. I played for Nottinghamshire while I was at Mansfield as well, so that sort of helped me get into the Nottinghamshire Vets. Dan Sutton, bless him, when I was over 35, I must have been late 30s, he rang me up to see if I'd want to play for the Vets. They had quite a strong Not side. So I went along and I've played for them ever since. And now I sort of help run the side.
I mean, you say sort of help.
Yeah, well, I do all the donkey work, really.
Yeah. I mean, I've turned out for you. I mean, for those who don't know, I am 26. I just look 36. But you still get some good Vets teams out, actually.
Yeah. I play for Mansfield Vets still as well. So, and Mansfield Vets are quite a strong vet side.
I mean, I remember me and Nate came down to play when we were at Ilkeston, I think.
Ilkeston, yeah, cracking game, right?
It was a good game because we had Jazz Kelly as well came down.
Yeah, he's a boy, Jazz, isn't he?
Incredible. But there was one moment, as I just remember, I was probably on the floor taking a breather, and I just see you dash 20, 30 yards down the wing, dodging tackles, mate. And I was like, Blake's still 21. He's he's playing like no end. Phil, would you like to shout as your package?
Yeah. As have you come across a Phil's package before?
No, mate.
No.
No.
Not in this format anyway. So basically it's a quick fire question. So I'll ask you a question, you just need to give me the answer back as quick as you can.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, so we'll start nice and easy. So red or green?
Green.
Favourite beverage?
Newcastle Brown Ale.
Ooh.
Oh, not had a Nuki Brown on here yet.
Yellow or blue?
Blue.
Favourite rugby position?
Wing.
Best player you have played against?
Bruce Rihana.
Right, we're just going to hold it there. How the hell have you played against Bruce Rihana?
Well, I got invited to Loch Lomond International Tens. It was with Derbyshire Vets. And they were short of a winger, so they asked me to go along. So I went to the Loch Lomond International Vets tournament. And funnily enough, while I was there, Wales was short of a winger. And we went out for a few beers on a boat trip in Loch Lomond. And one of the lads said, Eric's a winger, he's not a bad lad. So I ended up playing for Wales against the Pacific Islanders when Bruce Rihana was playing for them. And he was
That is insane.
That's amazing.
Insane.
I did not expect Bruce Hannah to ask that question. I'm not sure what I expected, but that was a clanger. I like that one.
That was amazing. Right, next one. Coaching or playing?
Playing.
Pecky or Wardy?
Becky.
Favourite opposition?
Skegness.
Interesting. And Jaunty or Jim?
Jim.
Yeah, that's all we want. Even if you don't know who they are, we don't care. It's the first rule of the podcast. So we before we take a break, as we had some questions and some stories come in about your good self. A lot of them were quite nice, actually, like favourite position or nine or hooker and things like this. But there's one thing I'd just like to pull on. I didn't realise you were into doing impressions, Ez, but supposedly you nearly drowned while doing an impression of Pamela Anderson. Would you like to kind of shed a bit more light on, one, why you were dressed as my Pammy, and two, how did you nearly drown?
Yeah, well, we were on tour. I think it was Chester or Durham. I think Chester. And everyone had to take turns in wearing the Pamela Anderson Baywatch suit. It was like a big suit with big boobs, and it was, quite a chunky suit. And it was my turn, but on my turn, I was wearing it. We'd all had a few beers, and we went by the river. So the lads were egging me on. Jump in the river, Ez. So I dived in the river. It was quite deep. And anyway, I'm trying to get my breath. The suit's filling up. It was all sponge. I starts drowning. And my mate Rashman, cracking lad, he plays for the county vets as well. He dived in after me to save me with his phone, his wallet, his shoes on, everything. So he lost all that, but he got me to the shore, which was good.
The irony of you drowning dressed as a lifeguard.
I was going to say, it's perfect irony, isn't it, really? I don't think I have any stories which are vaguely similar to nearly drowning dressed as Pammy Anderson. Have you, Phil?
No.
No. Another question we had through, which I liked, and I think we're going to steal. If you were to go on a road trip with three blokes you've played on the same rugby pitch as, or with, played with, who would you pick? Question. There's a lot of thinking behind it.
Stewie Parker.
Yep.
Matt Worsey.
Yep.
He's the Derbyshire manager on the veterans. And I'd say Jack, my son, as well.
Oh, that's funny enough. The question came from Jack, so I think he was absolutely fishing for that.
I was going to say, I think he wanted so. So, what would Jack bring to the road trip? Anything, or just beer?
He tells a few jokes. He's quite funny. He's not a bad lad.
I still see him as a little cocky 18-year-old. When I see him nowadays, still like, yeah, he's still got that face on him. You just want to grind into the floor.
Yeah, he's a cocky 9, isn't he?
I wonder where he gets that from. I think I would be the last person my dad would pick to go on a road trip with, if I'm honest. Because he knows half of the expenses go on just keeping me fueled as well as the flipping car. Who would you pick, Phil?
What's going on a road trip with, from people I've played with?
Yeah.
I mean, I doubt he watched it, but I'll probably have to say Alex Shaw, as he's probably one of my closest mates. And then it'd be quite tight, really. So I'll probably take Alex Dodge.
Yeah.
because he is one of the great rulesmen of drinking games. You've never met anyone so astute to drinking rules in your life.
Really?
He is incredible. He was known as the rulesman.
Nice.
And then who's good? Now this is an absolute name drop, and I don't apologise. But one of my favourite nights out, and I'll add the story onto this, was going out with Ali Williams, who was like an absolute hero of mine.
Yeah.
He played for Nottingham for a month while I was there, and we had a night out on probably about the 5th or 6th of January. And he can drink. Oh my God. He can drink. I mean, he's 6'8" or whatever he is, so you would expect he's got a bit of stamina on him. But in the middle of the night, and this is honestly one of the funniest stories, for just like rugby players' jaws hitting the floor, was we're all sitting around in the old South Bank bar and drinking as you do. And he stops and looks at his phone and goes, "Oh, I've just got to take this." Anyway, he walks off. And then I think one of my mates was sitting next to me and goes, I think I just said Dan Carter on his phone. And I was like, yeah, right there, mate. Yeah, right there. Anyway, he sits back down and we were like, who was that then? He goes, oh, it was just Carts. Oh, just Carts.
Just
Just the best fly half in the world.
yeah.
That's what it is.
Just the poster boy of rugby around the world. That's fine.
And like all month, he was just getting like phone calls from people. So like, what's the name of them? New Zealand coach at the time. This would have been like 2010, 2011. Whoever, he's the same coach now. He's like, oh yeah, he's just rang me because he's just making sure I was all right and doing all this. It was just getting phone calls from the most incredible people, and we were just like, oh my God, like my mum rang me earlier. That's as good as it gets.
Wanted to know if I put the washing machine on.
Yeah. So as next question, which is a common one, is what is your worst rugbying memory?
I've had quite a few injuries over the years, so it's got to be one of them. I'd say knee, maybe. I did my knee, but I've done my shoulders as well, and broke my foot. One of them got to be.
Is that just due to the time out of the game afterwards, or the pain?
Pain, really, at the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, lads, you must have had some injuries.
But yeah, I've had enough, thanks.
To be fair, I've only had little niggles. I think I've got enough padding for bones to break. So if they break, they're kind of automatically filled with some weird grease to stick them back together. But I've never really had any injuries. But I do know people. I mean, I know my cousin. He's plays down in Gillingham at the minute in Kent. But he was someone who just loves playing rugby. But the pain was initial, and then when he realised how long it would take to get back to playing, broken collarbones, I think it was. And I know a lad as well who he actually missed out on the RAF for a bit because broke one collarbone or at one side and came back, and then broke the other side. And it's the case of I can't play for a bloody long time now, which upsets a lot of people. I know you've spoken about that before, Phil.
Yeah, so I've had a fair few injuries, and that's kind of what sort of killed my career, I suppose, at quite an early age. But it's just like the initial pain is bad, fractured face and dislocated shoulders and torn ACLs or whatever. Pain is always there. Got to admit, the ACL one was painful. It was like a cramp, but then I had some of the best drugs I've ever had, and I was in Plymouth when I did it. I had to get all the way back to Nottingham on the bus, but I can't remember that bus journey. I was flying on that bus journey. But then it's the realization for me that especially with my knee, when I did my ACL, it's normally a 12-month, 12-month out period. So I did my ACL, in January. It wasn't diagnosed until the beginning of March. So I played for 6 weeks on a torn ACL. And then I had my operation in June, and I managed to play just before Christmas. So I managed to do it within 6 months. But that was training and rehabbing every day for 6 months, which obviously most people don't have that opportunity to do that.
No.
But it's the for me, when I got injured, it was that I'm not going to play now for 8 to 12, 6 months, whatever. It killed me about it.
Yeah, and I think the problem with a lot of injuries is they feel fine after a while, and you're like, why can't I go back? So people go back, shoot out early, and then that's it. They've done it again, and it's often, especially knees, man. Knees are horrible. Knees end so many people's rugby playing careers at any level. They're just so rough, so rough. Like, who was the lad that had to retire? Professional from Ross the other day. Was it Ross the other day? And you just think he's been battered for 20 years of his, well, probably not 10 years of his senior life, just playing rugby, and it's just killed it. Away from injuries and bad rugby memories, Ez, what is your favourite rugby memory?
On the vet circuit, I scored a hat-trick against Lincolnshire at Kesteven away, and that's a tough place to go. And I think that's got to be up there.
How unbelievably cold was it at Kesteven that day? Because it literally goes from about 1 degree down to about -20 there.
Yeah, you're right. I think there was ice on the trial.
That's the thing. I remember after we played the game at Ilkeston, you said, next one, lads, is in, I think it must have been November time. It's in November, Kesteven away on a Wednesday night, if anyone fancies it.
Yeah.
Available. Sorry.
It should be a summer sport, really.
Look, it needs to be there. I've never been there and it not been ice cold. And I've been there 10 times.
Yeah.
I remember travelling out there to watch Nathan play for Nottinghamshire versus Lincolnshire. This will be before I played rugby, so it'll be 12, 14 years ago. And we got there, and my dad was like, they're not playing on this. And the ref's running around the pitch. And he's like, yeah, I'll be fine. It's all right. The ref went into his changing room and came back out, and the pitch had crystallized in that 10-minute period. And the ref was like, yeah, we're not playing this.
What's the worst, talking about places but never have nice weather, what's the worst ground you've played at, Ez?
Worst ground. I can remember Bourne are a lot better now, but years ago we used to go Bourne, Lincolnshire, and it was just a field with a porter cabin to get changed in, and that's got to be up there. But it's a lot better now.
Yeah.
What about you, Tom?
Got to be Mansfield Woodhouse. Grim. I've never played.
The showers aren't great there, are they?
No, yes. Change room's awful. So the change room has one door to both change rooms, so the Woodhouse lot tend to have to walk through the away change room while you're all getting changed to get in. We were there, and about 5 minutes into the game, there's some dog poo on the pitch, and some lad just came, got his hand picked up, wiped it on his shorts, and was like, "Yeah, ready." No, you're fucking not. Wash your hands, pal. I was like, I am not going anywhere near you at all. It's also one of them places where sometimes it's quite not intimidating to play, but you suddenly turn up and there's a lot more people watching than you'd expect to be watching a Woodhouse versus Pavs threes game, and you're like, oh great, one of them. But yeah, I mean, places like that, Bakewell, lovely setting. Pitch tends to be kind of 4 foot of just mud. Just grim. What about you, Phil? You must have seen I think we've talked about this, but you see some rotten ground.
I mean, there's bad professional grounds, but they're still professional grounds.
Yeah.
I think one of the low lights of my young career was we had a very good academy side at Nottingham. We played some lovely places. We played like Leeds and we played Leicester, and you could play on like all these nice pitches. And then Moseley offered up a game. Moseley called themselves an academy. Anyway, their first team was playing. For those who haven't been to Moseley, Moseley have got one pitch, and it is their first team pitch, and it's a good pitch. It's on a hill, but it's a good pitch. And behind their sort of ground is a recreational park, which essentially has what looks like an old jail at the end of it.
Oh, I do know Moseley, yeah.
With like the worst showers, no natural light in this building at all. And we had to play on this pitch, and it was a windy day, and this pitch was just covered in dog poo. And we were hammering them. It was like 40-0 at half time. And one of our lads had to go off because he got dog shit in his eye. And all that sort of thing. And we were just like, don't really fancy this. So me and another were essentially trying to get ourselves yellow carded so we could come out. Just like, this is ridiculous. Let's just get off this pitch, whatever it takes.
I remember the first time I went to the Rec, which is a notoriously bad Premier League ground, the Bath ground, and they've got the same. The lads warm up on the recreational grounds behind, and it is always a bog. It is, I mean, as a Bristol fan, I'm going to say it's notoriously crap at the Rec, but it's quite amazing, really. I guess it shows the difference in rugby and football at the Premier League level, if anything, but it's not the nicest. So moving away from Bath and crap pitches and stuff, Ez, what are your thoughts on the next season? Are we going to play? What options and do you see us really having?
I think it's going to be touch rugby for a while, and then they reckon 2021. I've looked at it next year. Who knows? It'd be nice to get a few games in next year before the end of the season, but who knows what's going to happen, mate.
It's a bit of a funny one, isn't it? Because they've come out, for those who haven't seen it, and if you're in the rugby world, have you not seen it, that we're not playing rugby now until 2021. Anything below the championship, isn't it, is now 2021. Which is, I mean, some clubs will be fine. Other clubs, and we would have all been to other clubs who potentially are going to struggle. For example, some of the coastal clubs that you played against theirs and people. What realistically, what state do you think them clubs and kind of the lower leagues are good, the grassroots level is going to be at by the time we get back to playing?
This is a tough one. I think if clubs have a lot of expense, they're going to struggle unless they get help. I mean, at Allerton, we're quite lucky because we're sort of self-funded, and we don't rely on the bar because we have a couple of pubs who sponsor us, mainly the Plough and then in the Red Line at Weller. They sponsor our tour, so we're quite lucky in that way. We just have the pavilion and the pitch and that to pay for.
Yeah, because I mean, moving on to just away from that question to the Plough. For those who don't know, it's you turn up, don't you, to the Plough after game, get put in the back room, and it's kind of behave, lads, and then spend your money and come out again. Pretty much.
Yeah, well, it's all changed with this lockdown. It's everything's sort of, you've got to wear your mask and do everything right. Only have a few to a table, but it's the same everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah.
My grandson goes to rugby tops at Pabs on a Sunday morning. I take him, and he's having a great time. He loves it, and it's similar there. It's everything's outside, isn't it? I don't know whether you can go in the clubhouse. I didn't go in on Sunday when I was there. But
I don't think you can at the moment, no.
Yeah.
No, I think you can at the moment.
We've
Well,
got
we had a touch tournament up there on Saturday, didn't we? And the clubhouse was closed. But we had a bar downstairs and food downstairs as well, actually. Which worked quite well.
I mean, we're very, as a club, in that sense, extremely fortunate that we don't actually need to be inside. If the weather holds out and it's maybe only a little bit damp, we're all right. But we are lucky in that sense for that, really. Phil, what do you think or both of you? Obviously, we kind of aren't really massive fans of the RFU, and we talk about them normally, but what can kind of clubs like Pavs and bigger clubs in areas do to support the Skegness's and people like that, that we were hinting to on the coastal side of things, to kind of stay alive through this pandemic?
Yeah, I think there's, as I mentioned, the touch there, and this touch game that the RFU have put out over the last few months is not something we've looked at yet. We've been playing O2 touch, which is not the original version of touch. But I mean, if it comes to the point where we get to December and we know we're not starting in January, then we're going to have to look at doing something to involve multiple clubs. Having said that, if anybody's tried to play touch on a slippy January evening before, it's pretty hard work, and that would make that difficult. I mean, I'd hope, and obviously I don't really know what's going on in Lincolnshire, but those clubs are sort of banding together and doing things like that and opening the bar. I know that we're in discussion with some of the local clubs to put on either a tournament at Pavs for multiple clubs or have a home and away fixture with another club so that both clubs get the benefit of the bar takings, things like that, just to try and promote, one, rugby, and two, a bit of sort of counter unity between the clubs. I think Ollerton and Pavers have actually got a very good link, and it pretty much feels like every other weekend Ollerton are up at our club or our thirds are over at Ollerton. But it's I think it's probably time to sort of cast the net a bit further and make sure that everyone's in a good place, because only 10 years ago you had 6 NLD clubs in that Midlands 1, and now you've got us luckily escaped up to Midlands Prem. You got Bridgeford in Midlands 1, and then teams drip down from there, really.
Yeah, and I mean, it's very easy to, especially with recent cuts and what have you, to point fingers at the RFU, but actually we call ourselves a community game. So the community isn't just Pavs, and it isn't just Ollerton, it isn't just Mansfield and Newark. It's the community, the rugby playing community is where we're going to see a lot of the support come from. Ez, final question.
Yeah.
To do with rugby before we say goodbye and let you go to sleep after you've trained today.
Cheers, mate.
So what are you doing? Because I mean, training at Pavs at the minute is getting very much backfakes. They just run around. What alternatives can you provide with for coaching on a Tuesday and a Thursday? How are you keeping the lads interested?
Yeah, well, at Ollerton we've got Kalunga Bwalia he'd done a bit of coaching at Pavey's also with his lads used to play. Well, he's doing a bit of fitness coaching, so we do a bit of fitness as well. We do sort of 45 minutes fitness, and then we'll do a sort of game scenario, bit of touch and stuff. So, and it's all the lads seem to enjoy it, and it keeps us fit. And
But I mean,
that's a tip. Have you got any tips for us?
Not fitness. If anything, I was turned off from the idea as soon as you said that word in front of me.
I think we've sort of flitted between having nights where we focus on just enjoyment, so playing touch, getting everyone involved. We've got a real big difference in age groups, so we've got seconds, firsts, and academy. You know, we're getting a huge amount of academy lads every night. So getting everyone to know each other and learn how we're trying to play. We did a lot of skills early doors, especially when we were in groups of 6. A lot of skills early doors. And then we've done quite a bit on sort of defence as well. Right now we can sort of have 20 people training in a group, just getting the defensive organisation right and working off that. Plus we've done a bit of line out just to keep the props happy and let the backs go and run their moves. So we're kind of trying to keep it as normal as possible, but it's really difficult because there's obviously nothing to work for towards the weekend.
We're even exploring different activities, aren't we?
Yeah, there probably will be a football pulled out in the near future, I think.
So as we'll let you know, so you can come in there on that as well. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for coming on, Ez. It's been a pleasure to chat with you. It's always nice chatting to someone who has a different perspective on the game to us. So, Phil, have you got anything else to say to Eric?
Just thank you, and yeah, hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yeah, thanks ever so much, lads. I'll be up with my grandson on Sunday for the rugby tots. So, cheers, guys.
Sounds good. For those who don't know, Little Rug is Sunday morning, isn't it? Sounds good.
Rebecca, yeah, she's a great coach.
Good. Cool. Thank you very much, Ez.
Cheers.
So that was Ez. We did warn people about the clanger, so we do apologise for people who are still recovering from that. That's quite a name as well, isn't it, Hannah?
The fact it just came out of nowhere, and I probably haven't thought about him since he played for Northampton. Yeah,
he's one of them people that he's not one to spring to mind straight away, but he's a good name to drop. And also, I'd like to have seen Ez dressed as Pamela Anderson. I think that'd be quite a picture.
No, I'm not on the same page with you there.
You don't want to see him.
Don't need that.
I think maybe it just makes it easier for me to sleep at night. So obviously we mentioned the walk before. Do you want to do your down there thing?
Yeah, we'll be down there.
Down there. That's where the link will be. Also, it is time for subs, like we've mentioned. We're not playing until January, but we're a community-run club, so we would very much appreciate the cash. I know our direct debits you can be set up on for £10 a month. Next week, we are aiming to get forward, and we've got a name in mind, but with our track record, we're saying nothing
until
it's recorded.
Yeah, I think we should be all right. I think we should be, and
I think this lad will attract a fair bit of attention from people. But we'll have to wait and see. Phil? Oh, apart from before I ask you for any wise words, people still aren't subscribing to the YouTube channel.
I know.
100 likes on Instagram. We get more likes on posts, but we've only got 53 subscribers. So you ain't getting your plaque anytime soon.
Is it 1,000 or 10,000?
I think it's 10,000, but I think we'll aim for 1,000 first.
Well, we're gonna have to.
Well, we have to. If we raise £1,000 for the walk, what if we also get 1,000 subscribers? We go fully dressed up. I don't think we will by the 31st.
No, I think I'm pretty safe. I will quite happily go fully dressed up. Halloween costume.
Yeah.
Sexy cat.
Wow. You don't want to see us dressed as Pamela Anderson. I've just been sick in my mouth. Phil, any wise words?
No.
No, Sam. Right, see you later.